Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, here we are, Spoonfed Podcast.
Let's go.
Did I say podcast right?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. Hey, this is the first episode that has been recorded 4 to 5 times now, so that we can get it right, of the Spoonfed Podcast. That's hard to say, but it's going to roll off my tongue.
Yeah,
here in a minute.
we'll get used to saying it.
For sure. So each week we will come to you, us three voices. Jason here.
Hannah.
And Eli.
All right.
There it is. All right, that worked out well. This is good and pretty
It's
good.
like we practiced it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
really.
That's like the one part we didn't know.
Hey, maybe we shouldn't practice anything going forward. So this is the Spoonfed Podcast, and we are us three here to talk through spoon-feeding you. Is it spoon-feeding you?
No, spoon feeding you.
So maybe I shouldn't lead this.
You probably shouldn't. So we're here just to talk about entrepreneurship, how to stay engaged, how to stay inspired, and how to achieve your goals. We haven't achieved all of our goals yet, so that is one of the reasons why we're here. But yeah, let's kind of talk about who we are and why we're here talking about this.
Cool. Yeah, that's fun. Who's first, ladies?
You go, ladies.
Lady. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean anything to call you ladies.
You don't know how I identify?
Okay, so I'm Hannah. Jason and I are married. We have 750 kids, and
I didn't even know that.
no, we have 3 kids, and we are self-employed, each of us, and so we are we've been married for almost 13 years. And just are dreamers. We kind of get caught up in the dream world of what could be. And we've found that we've had a challenge of pairing that with doing, things to actually help us get there. So, that's part of the reason why we're here. But I currently am a real estate agent here in Nashville. And
Wow. How many houses have you sold?
so I passed my test last week, so I'm fresh. But I've worked for, so my career overview has been marketing, branding, for the last 7 years has been for CPG companies, so consumer packaged goods, been in the food industry on the production side. And so I have had lots of experience with taking brands from the infancy to distribution, and working with partners like Costco and big retailers. So that's my sort of background for the past little bit of time with food, but we have a longstanding relationship with food, and that's really kind of what we love to talk about. And like what we love to do is just eat and and bring people together through food. That really is one of our spiritual gifts, we feel like. So food is definitely very important to us, and just really kind of a hobby. So and you know, it does help that you're a chef and know how to cook the food, because I definitely don't.
I sometimes don't when I come home either. So I have a friend in my pocket called Maria Calendar.
Yeah, right.
No, I do not. My mom always did. I
Yeah.
did not.
And that's what made you become a chef too, right? Like,
yeah. Okay. So I'm Jason, the other half. I like to say the better half.
we'll let y'all decide.
Okay. Yeah. Leave a comment. I'm kidding. I don't know how that works. The better half. So I am food all day. That's me as what I do. You can call me a chef, I guess, by profession. I don't really like to say that. It sounds so formal and buttoned up. But I do all things food. I've started off kind of in the grunt work of, most people do as a chef, kind of washing dishes and peeling thousands of cases of carrots and potatoes, and then walking up and downhill barefoot in the snow.
Please.
No, I am a
Jason
seasoned.
brings the drama. Let's just go ahead and say that. Jason
it's not
is
drama.
a little extra. You're
It's
a little
called bougie.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
so
that word.
you're a little extra.
Fancy term for it.
Yes, and he owns it. I will say he owns it. But Jason brings the drama. So continue with
Okay,
your
thank you.
elaborate.
I think you rudely interrupted there. So yeah, I have gone all around. I did culinary school like most chefs, I would say. Well, not most. I think it's a good split, half and half. And we can talk through more of that later. But worked my way through Atlanta and through different restaurants there, trying to find my niche, trying to find what I like. Is it fast food? Is it slow food? Is it fancy courses and whatever it was? And then one day I moved back home because I wasn't digging the Atlanta rat race. And someone came to me and said, hey, there's a resort off the coast of Georgia. And now home was Georgia for me, right? South Georgia. And they said, you should, try it out. It'd be great for a chef. And I looked at them. I was like, wait, Georgia has a coastline?
Seriously.
And so I didn't even know that Georgia had a coastline. I didn't know we had a beach in Georgia. Anyways, long story short, 12 years later, I worked my way up to an executive chef of the resort and met many different professionals in the field. And so I've done a lot there. But it was a rat race. It took a lot out of you. It took a lot from creativity, and it took a lot from family. And so I learned a lot, and I took all those skills and then started helping Hannah with some of the CPG products. And that is a fun world. Mm-hmm. It's like it is like raising a kid, and then you get to see the kids sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
I wish I could really do that.
Could we put our kids on a shelf for a second?
But who prices them?
That would be priceless,
Clearance.
Actually free.
So is that where y'all met, at the resort?
Well, no, he had just gotten out of culinary school, and we met. Actually, I just graduated high school, so Jason is much, much older.
Oh, cool.
And
Cradle robber.
So we met when he got out of culinary school. We worked at the same restaurant. So, but then he moved away pretty quickly, and so we were long distance for a while. But yeah, he the resort world. So once we got married, I moved over. I also started working at the resort too. I was in marketing, graduated college with a marketing degree, and so I started working for the same resort, and it was wonderful. I mean, we didn't have kids. We would be off on like a Monday, Tuesday, and
2 days in a row. I don't think.
Well, I mean, we were just it worked for us.
Yeah,
it was the type of schedule that we could do. And then when we started having kids, it became a little bit more difficult to have that traditional sort of family life. So I moved into a role that I was able to have, a traditional schedule, 9 to 5, and off on weekends, that kind of thing. And Jason continued to work in the service side of it. So, I think we were married for 7 years or so before we had our first Christmas together or something.
I thought you were about to say kid. I was like,
yeah.
You don't know that? No. That sounds way off.
So, we knew that it wasn't sustainable for us, for the kind of family life that we wanted to have. It just was, it didn't line up with, what we wanted. And it does work for some families. So don't hear us, hating on that whatsoever, but it just didn't work for the kind of family that we wanted to have and family life. So, from there we moved to a farm. We worked on a farm, after the resort, and that was in Birmingham. And
That's
that was
a whole nother podcast.
Quite an experience, right? And not to leave so much mystery there, but it was, we took this role as, they were looking for someone to help them open a market. Mm-hmm. They were farmers, and great people. And they hired both of us together, and we had our second child at that point. And so we moved to Birmingham. We packed up everything, moved to Birmingham, and we were all in on this farm. And so we worked together, and that was our dream always, was to work together. And I don't know why.
We quickly realized, maybe.
Yeah, we had some things to work out. And so, and I think that's kind of how things work is, we have this like romance, idea of how things are going to work. And then when you actually get into it, and this is like really parallel with this podcast, it's like when you get into it, it actually is like, man, I actually need to work on this. This isn't going the way that I thought it might go. And that was a little bit of, working together. I mean, we were in the same office. Our kids were actually at, under our desks. And we had a job to do. And it was challenging. It was very challenging, but
it gave us character.
Yeah. I mean, it gave us a depth to our story. And then also, a lot of knowledge. I mean, you went to Italy, you traveled, you went to coffee school. I mean, you got some credentials.
Coffee school's 3 days long. I mean, can you really call that school?
Yeah. Listen, you are certified in coffee smells or whatever.
You didn't even know. You pull an espresso. That's what I learned.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was quite an experience. But what that did for us is really help us understand we make the best team. We had to get into a groove. We had to get into learning how each other worked. But it was a gift for us during that time, to really use each other's strengths and balance with, what the other one brought to the table. Would you say?
I would definitely say so. Through all of that, we gained so much, got so high on, what our next steps were, and with each other, and stayed in Birmingham a whole year.
Yeah, a little over a year.
Yeah.
So what we did there was, it was a dairy farm, and they also raised livestock. So we branded the products. We made the logos. We made, packaging. We actually worked with the vendors to get the to send to the butcher or the meat processors.
That sounds a lot better than slaughter.
Yeah, slaughter. Yeah, but then we also processed chickens. So we had an incredible experience. So I think what was so interesting was the contrast from going from this luxury resort property to, and Jason serving presidents and world leaders and very accomplished people to the other side of food, which is from the ground up, really, and what you feed to the animals and how you move the chickens around the property to make sure that they, the meat is, and so it was such a contrast. Full circle. Yeah. And so it was an incredible experience. But we were there for a little over a year, getting these products together, building this brand for this group, and really not knowing, because we'd never done it before, but we had accomplished some things in our corporate careers that gave us the credentials to be able to get that job, right? Like, so everything we learned at the resort wasn't lost. And so, and that's how you stepping stones, right? Yeah. So from there, the farm, we did that. And then,
long story short, in the farm experience, I mean, some of our values didn't line up. They like to cash flow everything. And some of the projects they were working on were in the millions, and so that would take years to get to the complete stage of it.
Right.
And we knew that we didn't have that long. We knew that we didn't have another decade to devote to somebody else's project, even though it was fun and we enjoyed it. But unfortunately, we had to part our ways, but we parted our ways on this high, like, hey, we're look what we can do, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And moved back home. I mean, a humbling experience, and moved back home and
and then kind of like hit a little rut, right?
I would say.
No, I do think that it was all divine. And, we are the type of people that were like, okay, let's go. We've got this energy. We need to just roll with it. And everything we do is contributing to the big picture, And sometimes we get ahead of ourselves a little bit. And, I think that is, dreamer mentality, but also, people who are ambitious or hopeful. And, whatever we do, it's just contributing, and it's right around the corner. It's coming, and that's beautiful. And that's I think a lot of times what keeps us encouraged and inspired and on track. But we also kind of get ahead of ourselves a little bit. And that's what we did during that transition. So we felt like moving home after that experience, we were on the road to our dream
Great success.
business. Yeah.
Look out, Elon Musk. Here we come.
So from there, I worked with a friend from high school, building a brand for him. It was a pecan brand. I know there's some controversy on how people pronounce it. Eli,
Yeah.
where you at?
I'm 50-50. Depends on who I'm with, which is weird.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I think it was always pecan up there.
Okay, right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds a little
Well,
bougie.
No,
It is.
Listen, it is.
Like Nadine, right? Nadine's my grandmother. Okay. She would always tell me, she's like, son, you don't go to the cupboard and grab a con of green beans, now do you?
That's true.
And this is true, right? So we were always the pecan. That's I'd never heard the word pecan. Honestly, I'm not even. I mean, that's not the drama, but I'd never heard the word pecan until I got into the industry, and people I worked with said pecan. I'm like, what? You're from Georgia? How in the world do you say it like that? So very controversial. But so I worked with a friend from high school who owned a pecan processing company and wanted to build a pecan brand, a private label. And so we did that. We made pecan butter in our kitchen at home, Jason and I. So Jason came on as a consultant, and so he and I in the kitchen at home made this product. And
now let's clean up what pecan butter is. Okay. It literally is roasted pecans.
It's like pecan, like almond butter.
That are pureed like peanut butter. I mean,
Yeah.
almond butter. Yeah. So, but
You
anyway,
think it needs that much explanation? Did you know what we were talking about?
I mean, I had ballpark just because there's so many different butters. and
Nut butter. Yeah,
milks
nut
and-
butter. Maybe I should say that. Okay.
okay, I guess it is coming become
Okay.
more normal these days. But I think you think pecan
Well, when
butter.
we were
you don't,
doing it, yeah, we did have to explain, to several buyers and retailers and stuff that this is not like
dairy butter.
Dairy.
Was that kind of like when it was like a breakout thing, like when it was fresh
it was
on the market?
Justin's
It's
was
like-
fresh. It was right when all of these brands were doing shelf stable nut butter, alternative to peanut.
Right.
So I started that full time.
I can't see you guys. Is that bad?
That's fine.
Is he messing up?
No, you're good.
I'm messing up the
That's
little-
fine.
You feel left out?
Like, I'm sitting here
He's
backwards.
just looking at the wall.
and y'all are looking at each other talking, and I'm just like,
What a jerk.
I was like, I know this is a podcast, guys, but I mean, come on, there's got to be some camaraderie here.
So what that did was gave us an incredible opportunity, again, for us to really work together on a project, on something that was food related, and use our talents respectively. And, Jason contribute where he is, and I contribute on my side. So we worked with that company for 3 years. We grew the brand to be in, you can find it right now in Publix. You can find it right now in Whole Foods. We grew that brand from, yes, it is. I saw it yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, the Fresh Market. I'm sorry. It's in the Fresh Market. Oh, wait, no. Where did I see it? Anyway, we grew this brand to be a national brand, and it gave us an incredible experience. And it also fed that hunger that we have for doing something very similar. Now, there's a ton of challenges that come with starting a CPG brand.
No, hold on.
But
it's important to also mention we grew that brand essentially with somebody else.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
So the decisions that needed to be made and the money that needed to be spent wasn't necessarily always ours.
No, it wasn't. Right.
And
yeah.
so I think that was easy. That was
Yeah.
an easy way to do it. That was an easy way to kind of grow
Right.
that brand. And
Yeah.
what we're talking about currently, what we're doing now with being self-employed and growing another brand, I think that
It's much more challenging. There's a lot
for
more
sure.
risk,
What's your own money?
Yeah. Well, and it's both of us. It's like our entire livelihood. Like, can you be any more irresponsible? We have 750 kids, you know?
I think that's irresponsible in itself.
Which one needs to go?
Clearance, the all top 50.
The underperforming ones. But yes, you make a great point. But let's also talk about the company that we did have during that time that you were driving 2 hours for and sleeping in the kitchen and doing your food prep business. And during that time,
Well, no, let's don't talk about all our fails here. I mean,
I think it's good though, because like I think about me in like my career and stuff, like how many, like I think the fails is what brings us to this point of like,
it's like the grit,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? I mean,
let's
come
do
on.
this. Let's do this real quick. Let's pause and let's hear Eli.
oh boy,
Let's introduce. I mean, we're hearing his voice.
I was born at a young age.
Weren't we all?
Oh man, yeah. So I'm Eli. I'm the, I guess, owner and founder of this production company that's producing this podcast, 10 Bears Production.
Let's go.
And yeah, that was like definitely a funny. I've always had this like idea that I was going to start something. So I remember in high school, my dream was to move to California and open up a surf shop. Like that's all I wanted to do. And then that didn't happen because I lived on the East Coast and surfing's not big there, so I kind of lost interest. But just like then I moved to Nashville as a drummer, to be whatever that is.
Anything music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but I figured out along that journey that like really what got me excited about life and things was what supporting other people's visions and dreams. And so like as a drummer, that was okay. I'm on stage with an artist, helping them to sing their songs and be in front of a crowd. And that kind of spilled over into different production aspects, started figuring out how to use cameras and producing music and all that. And so through 2020, the pandemic that happened, we decided to start a production company. And I started doing a lot of video work and started producing podcasts, and here we are.
We are.
Yeah. So, but it all came out of like embracing the suck, like,
right.
Yeah, and just like, okay, I need something better for my family, something better, something more, not working for other people, but building my own thing that's going to be generational wealth, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, I think obviously that's the hard path.
Right.
It's not, and we even had this conversation this morning, like, man, should one of us get a job? Like,
right.
Hey, we have a job.
And like,
It's called
I know
self-employment.
it is self-employment, but again, there is the security, there is the stability in being employed.
Yep.
So there is a lot of respect, for that. But also we know as, the types of personalities that we are, that just can't be for us, right? Like it's not filling enough. And at some point you're going to get to a place where it's like, I don't have the energy to be that hungry anymore. And then I think that's our biggest fear, is getting to a point in our life where we're like, we could have done it.
Right.
We could have,
Yeah.
but we didn't. And I don't want to live with tons of regret. So I'm fine with living with lots of failures, which brings us back to Jason. Just kidding.
Why are you still on it from Eli here? I mean,
No,
come on.
I'm kidding. But no, we absolutely can relate to that, and you having a family too,
Yeah.
I mean, but how'd you grow this, like,
It's been wild. So originally when I first started it, there's a guy, his name's Shay Hinson. He has a company that, plug Accordis. They pretty much do all the back of house stuff for, it started as nonprofits, but they do for profit as well. So they do, they'll build websites, run social media, do accounting, all the stuff. And so kind of for a flat fee that's way less than hiring all those individual people,
Nice.
which is really
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool service. But he was like, yeah, just, start marketing, all that stuff. And honestly, none of that has worked. The marketing, it's been relationships.
okay. Right.
It's really been like, how can which comes back to like, I guess my philosophy is like, how can I help other people see their dreams come to life and their vision come to fruition? So, just being in different circles over the years and people finding out like, hey, Eli does this. And they're like, oh, well, let's start a podcast, or we need a commercial, or we need, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's been, I think relationships has been the key factor for my success in this. So,
Yeah, I think also for, many entrepreneurs and self-employed people, it's really about how you navigate relationships, and people want to work with people that they like, or they're aligned with, and that's how we got together, So and so, I that's really kind of how we are where we are. I mean, we moved to Nashville not knowing anybody.
yeah.
And it's something special about this town too, I will say. There's a lot of people who want to help elevate everyone. There's not this, at least we haven't experienced it yet, this cutthroat of, well, you can't be successful because it's taking over what the share is available for me,
right.
you know? And we haven't really encountered that here. Jason's had a lot of other, chefs in the business who are like, oh, I have a client, I can't do it. Can you do it? I mean, it's a real friendly kind of atmosphere for business owners and, some of us out here. It's hard out there on the streets though.
Mm-hmm. It's a good movie.
So we'll go back to the failure of the.
Why do we keep doing that?
No, what is important is that you did sleep in the kitchen. You slept in the kitchen next to dirty dishes.
No. I clean my dishes.
The dishes were always clean. You had a little cot. You and your best friend had a little cot. You pulled out in the kitchen. You were
Did you guys share it?
Meal prep.
What was it?
You guys share the cot?
No, we didn't.
Some nights it got cold.
It did get cold in the kitchen. Okay, so the story there. I mean, the failure. I wouldn't say it's a failure. It was a learning lesson.
At the time, it felt like a failure for sure. But I mean, it was time invested, money invested, and a dream. It was like, okay, this is going to be the tip of the iceberg. This is what's gonna, success is right around the corner.
So we moved back home, right? And then we had friends that we knew back at the coast of Georgia, which we again never knew existed. But no, by then we did.
The joke is over now. So
dang, I tried.
Call back.
So they kind of approached us and said, "Hey, there's a meal prep business that we're using for kind of this CrossFit crowd and the workouts and the gyms and all the stuff that's kind of blowing up at the time, and they just want some meals prepped for them, and we're tired of doing it. We don't want to do it no more. We can't feel like we can grow it. Is this something you're interested in?" And so they worked out a great deal to kind of get me to drive 2 hours from my home to go back to this little spot and do meal prep. Well, I mean, I did that for I think a year and a half.
Some maybe a little less, but anyway, long enough to know that this ain't it.
Well, I mean, I got bored with it. I got bored quick. It wasn't the food scene that I wanted to be a part of. I had a hard time investing myself into it. Now I invested every ounce of energy I had into it, considering it was 2 hours away, considering it was meal prep, it was food. This stuff is time sensitive. And so, I mean, I would cook till late in the night, and then
deliveries in the morning.
We would shut the windows. We'd pull out our cots and lay on the kitchen floor.
See, that's grind, I mean, and
next door to us was 24-hour fitness. We'd go in there and not to get worked out, but go in there to take our shower. We'd come back to our kitchen. By that time, the daylight is coming up, and so we're opening it back up. Put our cot away. We actually stored it up in the attic, so nobody would see it. If we were given a tour of our kitchen, which we never did,
customers would come in and whatever. But
for sure.
Yeah.
And it worked out that way. And I pulled my best friend in because I needed the help, but I couldn't really hire somebody. And so he was awesome assistance in that. But I mean, it was a humbling lesson. Is that, hey, listen, I can't just throw myself into something and it's going to be successful.
Right.
And so we had an opportunity to get to move on from it a year and a half later, and we did. I mean, I immediately moved on from it.
Yeah.
And then found ourselves in that rut again.
Right.
It's like, well, hey, now what?
Yeah.
Back at home.
Well, and then you consulted for a long time with different restaurants, helping them kind of clean up their processes and recipes and, things like that, their menus. So consulting actually has been your biggest or your long, you've had lots of blessings come from that, being able to do that. And then contract work, so we moved to Nashville. And
well, that's a little quick. That's fast, right?
Well, it's like we got 20 minutes here, so
I guess you're right. So yeah,
sorry, we can go longer.
Yeah, Eli says we can go longer.
Oh boy, no, we'll be here all day. Jason with the drama. No,
we were like, so you know what? We have nothing to lose. I mean, other than our 750 kids, but we have nothing to lose. And so, we had to figure out what we're going to do here, right? I mean, we had our odd and end jobs there, just paying our bills, but we needed a career. We needed some more investment into what we're going to.
Right. There was a discontentment that we continuously felt that we were not reaching our full potential. And not in any kind of arrogant way, not that we're better than this or this is,
I felt that way.
Okay. Well, yes, for you, but
I was actually, that was a joke. Please, let's laugh at that. Okay.
We'll talk about Jason's depression soon.
That's actually why we're doing this whole thing.
Yeah, this is therapy, and
Pass that bottle.
this is an intervention. But not in any kind of arrogant way, just in feeling like, there are just things undone and things that we said we're going to do. Man, we were just leaving that farm a few years ago and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it. It's right around the corner. And it wasn't. And, so we understand also that being self-employed is a luxury. And, it is something that is not lost on us. Now, I am not self-employed because I chose to be. I was laid off, and through the grace of God that I would have never taken that step. I would have never quit my job to, be a real estate agent. And so let's just hope that things go well over the next couple months, so I don't have to revert back. But I say all that because we're not saying, hey, if you're strong enough, you can be self-employed. It's a luxury, and it's not something that that is lost on us. That is easy, and so there's a lot of honor and responsibility in being employed. So I just wanted to say that and make sure, but yeah, I mean, we were just in a place of discontentment, feeling like we weren't reaching our full potential. That's really what it was. And so we felt like we needed to move from Georgia, and we were looking at lots of places to go.
We had Texas and Tennessee. We had no leads to Texas and Tennessee. We just why?
We have some good friends in Texas, so they were sort of trying to get us out there. But we're really close to our family, so that's a haul. We're close to our family, but
not too close.
Not too close.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to drive if we needed to.
Yeah.
So Tennessee started to be, the path became more narrow. I got a job here. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes, you did get a job.
I never took it, but I did get a job here. That's what anchored us and said, "Oh, I'm getting a job. I got a job." Now.
We had a few lines out in the water as to both ponds, Texas or Tennessee, and whichever one kind of struck first. We were like, you know what,
we're going.
Whatever it is, we're going.
At this point, we had already had a third kid. I was on maternity leave. That's what it was, and it was just feeling like, my word, I'm going to go back to this job that is not mine. But I've helped really build. We've helped really build, and we've put so much energy into it. But when we walk away, it's gone. And so that really didn't sit well with us. And so that's when we began to look at other opportunities. And then I got a job in Tennessee and Nashville, and that's what brought us here. During that time, I got another offer to stay at home, so work from home. And then it was COVID and all that. So it was like, wow, God really had a provision during that time. But again, that was when we were saying, goodness, we're really just discontent. What is it that we want to do? And that's when we began stripping everything away and saying, okay, we just want to be content. We want to feel full in all of these areas. And there were only certain kinds of opportunities that we could chase down that would help us, or that would allow us to feel full in all of those areas. And those areas were financially full, professionally full, our family life full, meaning, Jason wasn't working holidays and, nights and weekends all the time, and we never saw him, because that would get us financially full and also, professionally full. But the other things had to be full as well. And so we began this idea of this full life project, which is essentially kind of our mantra,
it's right now.
Feed, get fed, bear fruit. So we narrowed it all down.
But right now it's just words on paper. And not to take away from it. No, and I'm also, it is our mantra. It is what we kind of live by. But it's not a business we make money off of or something.
No, it's not a business. It will be.
Yeah.
So just mark it down.
But I think that's a good segue into like, why we're doing this and Spoonfed and why we've called it Spoonfed and where we're at right now.
Right. Yeah. So that's really kind of what we narrowed down. We said, okay, what are the things that we want to achieve as a marketing person, as someone in, business? It's like, what is the objective here? And, we started working actually with Don Miller, who is fantastic. I am completely obsessed with him. And I tried to work with him a couple times and it didn't work out, but I will. I love him. But he does this whole thing called Business Made Simple, and he makes you, one of the exercises is you start with your obituary, and you write your own obituary. And we went through this process, and it was fascinating. And, you think about it because, we get lost in life and all of the things we get caught up. But when you think about what is the objective of this life that I'm living, that God has blessed me with, what am I trying to achieve here? And that's really what you put on paper. And it's not all about career. It's not all about finances. It's not all about, looking good, Jason. No, I know. It's not all about the shoes you wear. But it really got us thinking, okay, what is it that we're trying to achieve? Because the only way we're going to feel content is if all of these things are in line and if we feel full in these areas. So we drilled that down to 3 things. Our 3 objectives in this life is to feed, get fed, and bear fruit. And we've defined what that means for us. But essentially, we want to feed others. That's important. We want to share. We want to spoon feed. We want to do other things. We want to share what we've been given, but we also need to get fed. What is feeding us? What are we driven by? What inspires us? And and we're getting fed by Eli right now. I mean, he's given us this opportunity and really hand-holding us.
He's
being really patient. Right. It's a continuous cycle. Right. And so that's why we called it full life project, because it is continuous. And then bearing fruit, 750 kids. And
okay.
Is that joke over?
Yes. All right. See, now it's my turn.
Okay. We check each other, that's what I like.
That's great.
But that's what led us here, right? I mean, and this is us. We're not feeding yet, and we'll talk about spoon feeding, but we're not feeding yet. We are still continuously getting fed. And I guess, sharing our story is feeding others maybe with, if they're feeling lost or uninspired or, challenged. If this can help at all, maybe it will. But let's talk about spoon feed. Let's
see if we can do this transition.
Okay.
All right, this has been the hardest part. Hey, kind of. So now we know who we all are, right? So we got the mic check.
This is the 3-legged stool right here.
So we came together to start a podcast called Spoonfed. But what were we going to say?
What we said before is that we didn't grow up being spoon-fed. It's this illustration of being given something, it's a handout. It is, easily digested information and it sometimes gives you leverage or a leg up. And not to discount anyone who has inspired us or supported us or helped us along the way, not to diminish their contribution, but just this idea of our parents aren't entrepreneurs. They're not business owners. So we're not born into this family of legacy business, which is fine. Our work ethic, we've learned from our parents, which is really, really great. But, so our path hasn't been carved out for us already. And I think that that's an important thing to call out, because that's what makes it challenging. And most people are that way. Most people are not spoon-fed. And so I think our objective with this is to help others and to spoon-feed what we've learned, what we've experienced, a lot of the mistakes that we've made, to help others, try to navigate through that. Did I nail it?
You did. I'm sorry. I was trying to focus on not sneezing on the mic.
See, I get on a path and then, it just brings me right back down.
It sounded great, though. But my focus was not to sneeze. No, and I think that the opportunity here that we have, or what we're doing now, is our next steps are to build that business, right?
Right.
Or to take everything that we learned, all of who we are, all that character that we've built, along with our family and our values and faith, and build a business. And we don't have that business yet,
Right.
but we're going to go through the process over this microphone.
Right.
I mean, as we go through, we're going to just use this as kind of our diary. What is that called? Isn't there like a log?
Confessional?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
I'm not going to confess anything on this microphone.
I'm going to tell all your secrets.
No, I mean, so the idea of Spoonfed. So now we're transitioning into what Spoonfed is and what it is. And so now you see who your hosts are and while we're qualified and or not qualified. I think that's the big piece. We're just like the next guy. We have nothing more going for us other than life lessons and the things that we learned.
Mm-hmm.
But we are about to go through the process of building a business out. And it's going to be a food-founded business.
Mm-hmm.
A food, wait, how do you
Family
say it?
food. What did I say?
Family food brand. No.
The family-founded food brand.
Yeah,
that was the other thing, the brutal recording that we did last week. I mean, boy, Eli, you're
It wasn't that bad.
Oh man, you're very generous.
I listened to it.
Maybe we'll release it when we're like all
bonus
material.
That's where we started.
Yeah, but yeah, I said that 1 million times. So in CrossFit, there's this thing, if you listen to the song, you squat however many times they say the word. And so if we would have squatted to how many times I said family founded food brand, we would
be ripped.
Very sore. So
have some nice glutes.
so it's not rolling off the tongue today,
No, it's not.
So
it's good. We're going to keep it there.
we're going to keep it like that. But that is what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So we know that food is important to us. We love food. It brings people together. It's just an amazing experience, and that's what we want to do. We want to work together and have a legacy for our kids too. Pass down that gift of not gift because they need to work for things too, but it's just the journey. Having them come along the journey with us is enriching, and yeah, can't wait to share the journey.
So that's what Spoonfed is. I mean, Spoonfed is our podcast just to kind of document our journey as we build this next brand. I mean, who's to say whether it's going to be successful or it's going to fail? And I mean, we like to think right here and now that it's going to be successful because we're taking a different path, a different approach, and we're doing it together. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though you're going to be selling houses at the same time, and I'm still going to keep
people who
cooking.
buy houses need to eat,
right?
You know, so I mean, it just goes hand in hand.
That's right. Well,
that could be your realtor gift, of like,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
She can sell them and then cook them as well.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
And with that,
cut that part.
Yeah. Cut all Jason's jokes. Cut all of them.
I'm just not on it today here. The podcast. I mean, we really thought through like, hey, how can we get going? What's our next steps? Mm-hmm. And just like in all the life lessons we learned, I mean, there's not a silver bullet to say, hey, you need to do this or follow this path. I mean, even though we say Donald Miller, it's got like, hey, if you want to do this, follow these steps. It's just not that easy,
Yeah. There is no business in a box.
No, there's no business in a box. Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yes, if you're self-employed, building a brand, hiring a team, building out a space, getting the equipment, that's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. And there's beauty in both sides, self-employed and, entrepreneur. But, we are going down the entrepreneur path and really having a platform, establishing a platform. That was one of the things that we wanted to accomplish with this, and to also escalate the momentum for ourselves. And this was the next right step. Eli was our friend. He was like, oh, I do podcasts. Oh, really? Well, let's do a podcast, Jason.
And so, but it created momentum, and that's what we needed. So we knew that we had to just do something. We can't just keep thinking and looking and say, well, we want to do something. So we actually had to do something to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be a good idea to start with a podcast.
Yeah. So with that, we are going to, so for next episode, let's just give the hungry people out there, what are we going to do for our business by the next time that we are here?
Ooh, and it's going to be good. It's going to kind of hold us accountable too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to come back here and say I didn't do it.
We do have our business plan that we plan to share with investors, and we are going to solidify that. I'm going to go ahead and commit us now, unless you have something different. But
yeah, I think it's good to kind of keep going.
Well, we have a business plan we've put together. We have to polish it. We have to make sure that the numbers work, and we're going to send it. They've given us an open invitation. Send it when you're ready. And it's like about 24 pages. So it's just a big undertaking that we had to do. But it's kind of just been sitting there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to polish it, make sure it's ready to go. And by next episode, it's going to be already sent off.
Yes. So, I mean, we're starting from, this is our ground zero.
Yeah.
This is where we'll start. And from there, we'll just kind of record our document our journey.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, if they come back and tell us that this is stupid, we'll come back and tell you, hey, they said this was stupid.
Yeah.
And then we'll tell you who they are so you can slander them.
Send their email address out.
Exactly. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, in the meantime, stay hungry, people. That's our tagline now. Stay hungry.
Is it?
Yeah. I like that.
For the first episode.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Subscribe, like, share.
I'll come up with the next one. Next
All
episode,
things.
I'll end it.
Eli will probably cut it off.
Only if you tell him to.
All right. Y'all.
Stay hungry.